Every animal born in the wild learns the same rule. When death comes, you run. You don't stop, you don't hesitate, and you certainly don't walk toward it. One deer did, and because of that choice, an entire kingdom changed. This is one of the oldest Buddhist stories ever told. Long before he became the Buddha, it is said he lived countless lives, born again and again, not as punishment, but as practice. Each life revealing something about wisdom, compassion, and the cost of both. In one of those lives, he was born a deer, not an ordinary one. His coat shimmered like gold beneath the morning sun, and his eyes were calm, almost impossibly calm, as though they had already seen more than one lifetime. The other animals followed him without fear, and they called him Banyan. Not because he was the strongest, but because, like the great Banyan tree, anyone could find shelter beneath him. Not far away lived another herd of 500 deer, led by another golden king named Branch. 2 golden kings, 1 forest, 1,000 deer between them, and none of them knew that their greatest enemy wasn't hunger or winter or age. It was a human king. The king of Benares loved hunting more than almost anything else, and every day he left his palace to chase deer through the forest, never alone. Each hunt pulled farmers from their fields, merchants from their shops, fathers away from their families, simply to drive terrified animals toward his arrows. Eventually, the people could bear it no longer, so they came up with a solution, one that was both clever and terribly cruel. They built an enormous royal park with high walls and a single entrance, and they drove every deer in the forest inside it. Both herds, all 1,000 animals, trapped together behind wood and stone. When the king arrived to inspect his new hunting ground, something caught his eye. Among the frightened animals stood 2 deer who did not run. 2 golden figures, silent, watching him. Even a king who loved hunting could recognize something extraordinary. "Those 2," he said, "no one is to harm them. Everyone else belongs to the hunt." For a while, the king kept his word and no one touched the 2 golden deer. But every other morning, death still entered the park. Sometimes the king came himself, bow in hand. More often, he sent his royal cook. It didn't matter who came, the result was always the same. The moment a man stepped through the gate, panic spread through the herd. 1,000 terrified animals ran in every direction, hooves crashing against stone walls. Young deer knocked to the ground, some trampled, some struck by arrows never meant for them, some surviving only to suffer for days. Banyan watched it happen again and again, until one day he walked to the other golden king, to Branch, and made a proposal. "We cannot stop the killing," Banyan said, "but perhaps we can stop the fear." Branch listened. "If 1 deer must die each day," Banyan continued, "then let only 1 die. No arrows, no chase, no panic. Each morning, 1 deer will walk willingly to the execution block. One day from my herd, the next from yours. No one else will suffer." It was a terrible idea, but it was kinder than the one they were already living, and Branch lowered his head. "I agree." And so the hunts ended, not because the king had become merciful, but because the deer had chosen order over terror. Every morning, 1 name was chosen. 1 deer stepped away from the herd, walked alone across the grass, reached the wooden block, lowered its neck, and waited. The cook arrived, did what he had come to do, and left. No arrows, no screaming, no stampede, only silence. It was cruel, but it spared hundreds from dying in fear. Day after day, the agreement held. Until one morning, everything changed. The lot fell to a pregnant doe. The doe didn't run. She didn't argue. She knew the agreement. Every deer did. When the lot chose you, your day had come. But this doe carried another life inside her, and so she walked to her own king, to Branch. "My lord," she said quietly, "I am carrying a fawn. If I die today, my child dies with me. I'm not asking to escape my turn, only let me wait until my fawn is born. After that I will return, and when my name is chosen again, I will come without hesitation." It was not a plea for special treatment. It was a simple request. 1 life today or 2 lives tomorrow. Branch looked at her. His answer came without anger, without hesitation. "The lot chose you. The rule cannot change. If I break it for one deer, it will no longer be fair for anyone. You must go." The doe lowered her head. She didn't argue again. What could she say? Her own king had already decided. There was only one place left to go. Not to her king, to another. To Banyan, the king who owed her nothing. She found him beneath the trees. She knelt before him, and she told him everything. Banyan listened. He never interrupted. When she finished, there was a long silence. Then he spoke. "Get up, sister." His voice was calm. "Soften your heart. Return to your herd and live." The doe stared at him. She didn't understand. Banyan looked toward the execution block. "I will go in your place." No bargain, no condition, no hesitation. Just a decision. Think about what that meant. Banyan wasn't responsible for her. She belonged to another herd, another king. And the human king had already promised that Banyan himself would never be harmed. He could have turned away. No one would have blamed him. No one would even have known she had asked. Instead, he chose a cost that wasn't his to carry. He walked slowly through his own herd. Hundreds of deer watched him pass, none of them understanding where he was going, until they saw him stop before the wooden block. Then their king lowered his neck and waited. The royal cook arrived and stopped. For a long moment, he simply stared. This wasn't an ordinary deer. It was Banyan, the Golden King, the one the human king himself had forbidden anyone to harm. The cook took a step back, then another. Without touching the deer, he turned and ran. When the king heard what had happened, he didn't send another servant. He came himself. Banyan was still there. His neck rested on the block. He hadn't moved. The king stood over him. "I gave you my word," he said. "I promised that no one would harm you. Why are you here?" Only then did Banyan lift his head. He told the king everything, about the pregnant doe, about her plea, about Branch's refusal, and about the choice he had made. "I could not ask another to die in her place. That would only move the suffering, not end it. And I could not let 2 lives be lost when one choice could save them. So I came myself." Silence filled the park. The king looked at the deer before him, a creature who had every reason to protect his own life, yet had offered it freely for someone who wasn't even a part of his herd. The king had spent years hunting. He had watched fear countless times. He had watched death countless times. But he had never seen compassion like this. Something inside him broke. For the first time, the king wept. His bow slipped from his hand. "Banyan," he said softly, "rise, I give you your life, and I give the doe hers. From this day forward, both of you are safe." Banyan didn't move. Instead, he asked a question. "My king, what about the rest of my herd?" The king looked across the frightened animals. Then he nodded. "They too are safe." Again, Banyan remained where he was. "And the deer beyond these walls?" Another pause. "They are safe as well." Still, Banyan did not rise. "And the animals with 4 legs who are not deer?" The king smiled through his tears. "They too are safe." "And the birds?" "They are safe." "And the fish in the rivers and lakes?" By now, the king understood. This deer wasn't asking for himself. He never had been. The king drew a slow breath. Then he spoke words his kingdom had never heard before. "From this day onward, no living creature within my kingdom shall be harmed by me. Every animal, every bird, every fish, safe, because one deer had refused to save only himself." That story became known as the Nigrodhamiga Jataka, one of the ancient accounts of the Buddha's lives before his final birth. According to Buddhist tradition, it is connected to a place near the city we now call Sarnath, in India, a place that would later become known as Deer Park. It was there, many lifetimes later, that the Buddha is said to have given his very first teaching. Whether you see this story as history, legend, or something in between, its question remains the same. Notice what Banyan never tried to do. He didn't defeat the king. He didn't fight him. He didn't shame him. He didn't demand compassion from someone who had never learned it. He simply refused to let another being carry a suffering he was able to carry himself. And strangely, that changed the king far more than any argument could have. We often imagine courage as something we feel before we act, as though confidence comes first and action follows. This story suggests the opposite. Banyan didn't know what would happen. He didn't know whether the king would listen. He didn't know whether anyone would remember what he had done. He simply took the next compassionate step. And only then did everything else begin to change. Perhaps that's why this story has survived for more than 2,000 years. And before you go, I have one question. Who changed the world more that day? The king or the deer? Tell me why in the comments. This is the very first little monk story told in this cinematic style. If you'd like me to continue bringing the Jataka Tales to life, leave a like. It's the simplest way to let me know these stories deserve to continue. I'll see you in the next little monk story.